Nicole L. Zenga from the Renville County Historical Society and Jill Wanuka from the Kandiyohi County Historical Society discuss new ways local historians are working and learning together. From cleaning challenges to seizing social media opportunities like doing the ABCs of museums on Facebook and other innovative efforts.
The creepiest object was another one that the Minnesota museums were doing, and I'm like, I don't have any creepy objects, but I do.
What was your creepiest object?
The hair wreath kind of freaked me out a little bit. It's a wreath made out of a lady's hair. And and then to me, it's the odd objects too. It's like we have chewed beaver wood, piece of wood that a beaver chewed. So it makes you think, who collected these things? And that was donated like in the 60s. But we have a lot of unique things in our museums that sometimes you forget about.
Can you talk about what this experience has been like for you? I imagine the experience of historical societies is a very unique one.
It happened so fast where we had to close our doors. So that was one of the hardest things. The volunteers are the toughest part of us all because we kind of become sometimes their social outlet, and that's what they do, and now they don't have that to do. Plus, they're irreplaceable for all the stuff that they do for us. But then it's just adjusting to a new normal, and we have unique situations and unique collections, so we can't clean like a regular business would do. We've also been doing a lot more technology, so I've been doing a lot more emails than I usually do. A lot of my members like the paper products, but I've had to switch it over.
And that goes with the school groups too. We're supposed to have school groups this time of year, and talking with them, they want to do more of an outreach visual thing with a video that they can share on YouTube, that they can share with their students that would have been coming here. They're finding new outlets for that. I'm trying to get videos to YouTube or to be shared on emails. That's a challenging thing when it's just a one-person show.
Yeah, I was curious about that. So it seems like so much of all aspects of life has gone digital now, learning and working. Do you feel like you were prepared for that? Was there any sort of tutorials on how to use these technologies? No, yeah, you're just winging it like everybody else.
We're learning on the fly.
How's that been going?
This is not in my wheelhouse, but now we'll just add it in there. One more thing for us to learn how to do.
And being more aware of what we're sharing digitally too. What part of our exhibits should we share? I would love to do the behind the scenes type things that some of the bigger museums are doing. How do you research your family and do a step-by-step video to have that available? I know there's a lot probably out there to be more successful, but this one is just sharing what information we have to share.
Okay. And what will the process to reopen look like?
We've been having a lot of access to the national organizations like American Association of Museums, American Association for State and Local History, and then we have our state groups, Minnesota Historical Society and Minnesota Alliance of Local History Museums, and then partnering also with our local, like West Central Minnesota Historical Association. We're all working together trying to answer those questions. I think my strongest thing is making sure we're doing it all the same. If we all pull our plans all together and do the same thing, I think it'll be a lot easier for the smaller organizations, they're all volunteer, to be able to take suit and do all those things.
What are the most common questions that are being brought to those groups that you mentioned about reopening? Maybe especially for smaller ones. What have been some of the things that people are talking about?
How to get the supplies to reopen is probably the biggest question. What do we do with masks? How do we get sanitizer? The cleaning products? How do you clean properly? I think those are the biggest ones from the ones I've sat on. And those are questions that we have here too, because they're in such short supply that it's hard to kind of do that. And then do you appointment-based tours to start out with? There's just so many questions. I think some of the smaller museums get overwhelmed. Some of them might not even open for the summer because they just don't have the resources either. Because then you have to buy those products and they're expensive,
The biggest thing is the requirements of if we require the visitors to wear a mask. They've had some pushback down in Texas and other organizations where their people will refuse to wear a mask. And if we're going to have that as a policy, we need to make sure that we're doing it politely, of course, but saying, I'm sorry, then you can't come into the museum without wearing a mask. A lot of our volunteers and staff are of that upper age, the high risk group, and making sure that they're safe is important. And then the cleaning thing, that's the crazy thing, is if, when you walk into a room and you think about when you walk out of that room, what did you touch?
Because you can't just spray everything down with Lysol, because you have these very delicate items. Is there any guidance on how to do that?
Fortunately, like at our museum, we have a lot of things in cases, so that doesn't come into contact with people. We can wipe off the glass. But some of those standing things, like I have a couple cars and some wagons, well, I have no other place to put them. So we just have to, put up extra barriers. All hands-on exhibit, they recommend putting those away, obviously. How do you keep cleaning those? And then I don't know, like the research room, I don't know how to, with all those books, and I wouldn't even know where to begin with that. That's the one that I'm probably most concerned about, is the research room, because our gallery is quite large, where we can do social distancing pretty good back there. And like I said, the cases most of them are glass and stuff. But it's the research room and the community room are the ones that are going to be the toughest. And our outbuildings are way too small. Nicole, you have 2 schoolhouses too. We have one. I don't know how to social distance in a schoolhouse. Those are tiny.
Have there been any positive experiences that have come out of this? Have you been able to, you talked about learning technology just to help promote your museums more, that I would imagine would be semi-positive, although it's probably been a learning curve. Have you been able to do more research or been able to talk to people online? What has that been like?
I have learned so much that you can fall down a rabbit hole within minutes. If you're taking an artifact and you want to know a little bit more about it, I worked one day for 8 hours on one artifact to get the history behind it and tell more of a story with the piece versus, it's just a helmet. But no, it's a helmet that was worn by Emil Hermann during World War I. Those kind of stories continue on. So yes, the fun times of being able to actually research a piece has been awesome.
Yeah, I was just telling my coworker too, I'm like, I've gotten the most research done I've gotten since I've probably been at this job for 10 years up in Wilmer. And this is the most time I've been able to spend. We've been doing a lot of social media posts. A lot of museums in Minnesota did an ABC of the museums, and that started right after the governor shut the museums down, and that was huge. But then we also got to do the research to write those posts, which I found, we're all historians at heart, and that's where we started, was doing research, and that's the fun part. And we're going to continue to do like different themes every day to engage people. But that has been the fun part, because we never get to do that much research when it's a normal day at the Historical Society as a director. So good. We have a really good community. Our local history community is very strong in Minnesota. I think our West Central group is really strong. I think we do a really good job of supporting each other and sharing ideas. And it makes it a lot easier. You're not your own little island, because a lot of us work 1 or 2 employees at a time out in West Central Minnesota. So you kind of feel isolated, but not with our local history field is very strong, and it's very good to have it, especially at a time like this.
I've been appreciating the history happy hours we have every Wednesday at 4:00. It's just a nice way of going, hey, how you doing? Because I haven't talked to anybody all day long.